So I'm just starting off with the standard architectural template. I'm just going to go into the 3D view here. And I'm just going to close that. So I'm just going to go into architecture and select sketch path and railings, and I'm just going to draw a railing over here. Was that too fast?
Too bright.
No, it's too bright. Can you not? No, it's pretty bad, alright. And I'm just going to put a little curve on the end as well, just so we can see how it works in when it's curved. And then you get standard railing like that. So the standard railing in Revit, it has square balusters, which are these vertical elements, and a square handrail, which is the top element there. Railings can be used to make anything that has that combination of vertical and horizontal elements. So often people use it to make sunshades or whatever out of aluminium, you know, because it's the quickest way to do it. Because all you do is you make a baluster that repeats, and then you make a rail that acts as the sunshade, and you just multiply it. So you can very quickly make a sunshade that way. I've got a video about that in the 4th semester stuff. So if we wanted to make this into, let's say, a more complex rail or a specially designed rail, I'm just going to do very quickly. The first thing I'm going to do is change the top rail here. And because, you know, it's a simple shape that's extruded in a horizontal way, all we need to do, as usual, is use a metric profile. So I'm going to go into New Family in the English one and go down to Metric Profile. That's okay. So then we get this, the usual thing. So I'm just going to very quickly make a rectangular profile like this. And let's say we'll make it 360 millimeters deep. So that's kind of the shape of the top rail. We can make it a little bit more, you know, ergonomic. If I go in here to line, and I'm going to fillet arc the edges of it. So let's say take a fillet arc, and I'm going to give it a radius of, let's say 20. So now I can just click these two lines here, and it'll just curve the edges for me nicely, so that you don't cut yourself on it when you're leaning on the edge there. So then we've got something like that. So I'm just going to give that a name. I'm going to save as family, put it on the desktop. I'm going to call it timber top rail.
But Shane, the insertion point is outside the thing itself.
It is at the moment, yeah. Save. Okay, so as Tom was saying, the insertion point is going to be here. So let's just see what happens when we put this in. So I'm going to load it into the project. And now it's in the project, I can select the railing, edit the type, and I'm not going to bother duplicating it. I'm just going to change the rail structure at the top here. And here we get the profile option. So we can change that to timber top rail and apply. Press OK. And it comes in like that.
You edited the rail structure, the non-continuous one?
Yeah, I just selected it, edit the type, rail structure non-continuous, and then just change the profile to the one we just made. And you can see at the moment the offset is at 25, so it's been offset slightly here. If I change that to 0 and apply it, it'll just go right onto the edge here, but we actually want to get it in the center, so I'm going to actually offset it back in by minus 150. Oh, that was the wrong direction, so plus 150. So it's kind of centered in the project there. So that's kind of our rail setup, our top rail. So now I want to modify the balusters here. So I want to make a special type of steel baluster with a certain kind of shape to it. So I'm going to go into New Family again. New Family, English, and this time I'm going to use this one here, Metric Baluster Post. This is where we get a chance to make our own baluster family. Open that up. And so it gives us this kind of setup, this template with the baluster height already set up. So all we need to do is make sure we stick it to the right reference planes. Now I'm going to go into the front view here so that we can draw how it looks, you know, if you make a cross section through the railing. Well, if we try to do it in the side view, we just anyway. Never mind. You'll understand what I mean when I get into it. So I'm going to do is I'm going to very quickly make an extrusion here. Again, I'm going to pick the plane we're on, which is front and back, because we're in the front view over here. So now I'm just going to start making a railing, and let's just turn off the line thickness here so we can see it. Start making a railing. I'm going to make it 140 high, and I'm going to bring it out by, let's bring it out by 90. Bring it up again by 500, and bring it back in again, and just bring it up to the top there. So that's kind of the shape I'm going to make. So now I'm just going to use the offset tool, numerical offset. I'm going to offset it all by 60 millimeters. So now I'm just going to go around and go offset, offset. And at the top one, I'm actually going to make it a little bit narrower. I'm going to make it 20 millimeters, not 200, 20 millimeters, like that. So I can trim these edges together, like this. And then use the line tool to close it off, like that. That makes sense? Everybody with me?
Change the height that is already set?
The height of it is, and actually what I should really do here is move this back down again and then align it to this plane here, because this is going to be where the height in the project is set to the top rail.
So like the lower line.
Yeah, the lower line is going to be the bottom of the handrail. This is going to be the top of the handrail.
And that piece on top there is where the other one is.
Yeah, you'll see when it goes in. The only way to really learn this is play with it, you know. So I'm just going to line that up there and lock it and see if that works. So over here we have extrusion start and extrusion end. At the moment it's starting at 0 and it's making a 250 millimeter thick extrusion. So I want to start at minus 5 and change it to plus 5. So it's starting, you know, 5 millimeters behind the plane we're drawing on and ending 5 millimeters on top. And just accept that, like that. And if I go to the 3D view, so that's kind of the shape of our baluster now. So the idea is that it's a kind of a steel piece that's been cut out. So let's give it a material while we're here. I'm going to go in and make it, let's make it, what options have we got for steel here? What have they got? Galvanized. No.
What did you go into? Because it doesn't let me edit the type.
Just a second. I'm just trying to see what kind of steel we've got in here. Why have they all of a sudden got so much stuff? Stainless steel brushed. There we go.
Myself, and then on the right we see material.
Oh, okay.
So now we've got this basic baluster set up. So let's give it a name. I'm going to say save as family. Put it on the desktop. I'm going to call it steel baluster. And now we can load it into the project 1. So it's in the project. So now we just need to modify the railing, edit the type, edit the balusters, and here under baluster family we should have the new one called steel baluster. If I just apply that, you can see that it just pops it all into the right position, like that.
But the first and the last baluster and the ones in between.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Can you just do this last part again?
Which bit?
After you loaded the baluster into
Yeah, so you select the railing, go to the edit type again, go into baluster placement, and up here where it says baluster family, this is where you can select the one you've loaded in. You see that? I've got it called steel baluster. So once you do that, you just press OK and it should pop up in the right position. So we've got the main balusters in there, but we've got also these end posts. So there's an end post here, there's a kind of a corner post here, and there's an end post over here that still have the same setup. So we can come back into edit type, go into baluster placement, and we can play with that a little bit. So it says here break pattern at each segment end. We can just say never break the pattern, and let's see what that does. If I apply that, it removes those extra corner posts. Sometimes you need a corner post because if you're on a staircase, sometimes you want to have a different post as you turn the corner and stuff like that. Often, but in this type of steel railing, it doesn't make any sense. And then we have a start post here, which we can change to default or none. Is actually better. Change all this to none. Change all this to none. Apply it. Removes it from the end as well. So now we just got one type of baluster in the whole thing. I can now come in and change the spacing of the balusters to a more realistic steel spacing like that. And press OK, and now we've got something that looks like this.
You change that with the offset, or
the spacing? Yeah, I select it again, edit the type, edit the baluster placement. It's over here, distance from previous. So you can decide how far apart they are. Okay. There's another couple of things you can do with that. Is you have one thing here called justify. If you go down, see if you have a look at this. This is called justify. What justify means is where are you starting the pattern from? At the moment, it's starting from the beginning of where we drew the railing. But if I say, well, we're going to justify it centered, it means it's going to equalize the spacing throughout. You see, it's slightly moved everything. But what it means is that it doesn't make so much sense when you're drawing it in isolation here, but when you've got a project, it might make a lot of sense. It's made an end piece here, and it's made an end piece here, and these should be exactly the same. So it's centered it along the entire row of it. So there's a few different ways of controlling that stuff. That's while we're in here, let's just go into edit type and go into the rail structure, and I'm just going to give it a material. Let's just call it wood, because we made it as a wood baluster, just to have something to look at. So that's kind of the basis of the baluster now. So now, if we wanted to add some horizontal circular pipes just to fill in the edges, I'm not going to make a special profile for them because Revit comes with some 30mm pipes put in there. They're a little bit thick, but you can always modify them afterwards if you want. But what I usually do is just to make sure if I've made a pattern. I've drawn that nice and off center. Perfect. Anyway, never mind. Let's just draw a section through here. Like that. Go to the view. So this is kind of the section through the element that we have. And actually maybe it just makes more sense if I go back into the steel baluster. If I can remember how wide I made it. So that was 60. If I just take a dimension here, actually let's just use so that was 90 and that's 60, so it's 110mm. What I'm trying to figure out here is how far it is from the center line to the center of the post we made, because I want to put some circular elements in here, or some long things. So what did we say there? It's 90 to here, and then it's 30 to the middle, so that's 120 to the center. Okay, so let's go back into the project again. And 3D view. So let's go in here, edit the type, and come into the rail structure. So we have the top rail here, and I'm going to insert a new rail, and this one I'm going to offset it by 120. And actually I think it's let's just see if that works. And I'm going to give it a circular profile. So we're just going to use the standard circular handrail profile, 30 millimeters, and we'll turn this one into stainless steel as well. Stainless steel brushed. And we put it at a height of 160. And if I just apply that just to see if it came in the right side, press OK. It looks like it's slightly offset, doesn't it? Why did I fit? Let's have a look at that again. Height 160. Let's just try it. Let's just try it by eye. Don't know why those calculations are wrong, but obviously I'm forgetting about something. So anyway, let's give it just one more. Edit type, edit rail structure. We'll offset it by 90. That's kind of going through the center where we want it to go. So once we've done that, I can go into edit the type, edit the rail structure, and now we've done it once. All we need to do is duplicate it as many times as we want and just change the height. So if the bottom one is at 160, maybe we want 100 mils between them. So let's say 260, 360, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So then you have, you know, a fairly okay handrail. Looks like a cruise ship handrail or something like that. So that's kind of a simple way of setting up your own handrail type. Now the thing about that is it works fine if you're drawing it just flat as a balcony railing or something. Well, let's just see if it works on the stairs. I'm going to architecture, stair by sketch, and let's just make a run from here to here, and let's just make it a little bit strange shape like that. Let's see if it works. So it's put it on it all right, but it's also added in the initial baluster here. It hasn't removed it. So that's a setting also within the railing tool. So if I select it again, edit the type, edit the baluster placement, as well as all this information up here, we've also got this tiny little tick box down here that says use baluster per tread on stairs. So it's telling it to use 2 balusters on every step, which works in a standard domestic house, because that's often the way you build a domestic house. But with a steel railing, we don't need it because you can span a lot more with it. So I'm just going to click that off and apply it, and you can see it gets rid of those extra balusters in there. Okay. The other thing we need to do now is go up and flip the direction of it. So we can just select it, and I don't know if you can see it there, but there's a little arrow when you select it, and if I just click that arrow, it flips the railing to the other side, so it's on the outside of the stairs the way we want it. Alright.
Mine gives me like can create geometry for one or more rails.
Yeah, it depends on how complex you've made the stairs. If you just say yes, it'll delete stuff it doesn't need. Often it's just warning you.
Mine will
delete the whole thing. Okay. Sometimes you have to be a little bit. You have to play with it a little bit. What we can also do in here is if we wanted to smooth the junction here, I could come in and edit the path of this railing, and I can use this little fillet arc tool again. And let's change the radius here to, let's say, 300 millimeters. and I can fillet these two elements together, and it'll give us a more curved, you know, rail form coming up the stairs like that. Let's try it again with this one. Edit path, fillet arc, radius of 300. Let's see if that works. Yeah, so you get something like that. Make sense? Yeah, okay. So if you wanted to make it more like that, this, let me just remember how to speak English. Wait a second. If you wanted to make it more as if it was a real stairs that was built out of steel, I'm going to first of all select it and change the type of the stairs. It's monolithic at the moment. I'm changing it to a stringer stairs, which is like a standard house stairs with these stringers on both sides. But we want to take out all this stuff that makes it boring. So I'm going to edit it. I'm going to come in and we're going to remove the risers by saying riser type and just go none. So we've got no face to the steps anymore, which is what the risers are. And where we come into stringers, I'm going to come down here and say we don't want any stringers either. Just change that to none. We don't want any of the standard stuff in there. So now we got something like that as the basis for the staircase. We can then use the railing tool to actually draw the structure of the let's say we're going to build it in steel stairs. We could draw the structure of some steel stringers on the outside here. And again, because it's just a shape that we're extruding over a long distance, we can use the profile to make it. So I'm going to go in here and say new family. Use the same thing again, metric profile, open it up, and I'm going to make just like a steel C-section. So just to do it quickly, go to line, I'm going to do a rectangle, and I'm going to just draw it. That's going to make it 140 by 300, and then again use the offset tool, and we offset it by 10 mils. Here, here, here. Then I'm going to break the line so we can trim it. So I'm going to use the trim button. Trim here, trim here, trim here. And just for the hell of it, let's also give it that curve again. So I'm going to give it a fillet arc, because the reason I'm giving it a fillet arc is that if you're doing a rendering, it adds so much quality to the image if the curves are reflecting light in the steel sections, rather than just leaving it completely straight. So let's just say 10 mils, 10 mils, and then do it one more time. Create line, radius, fillet arc. So that's kind of the shape. So that's like a standard C-section. We're going to use that as the structure for the railing. So I'm just going to delete that extra little element there. Save as family, and we'll call it steel C-section. Already got one there, so we'll just use that one. And I can load it into the project. And because we've got the profile now, we can just add it as a rail to this handrail here. So I edit the type, edit the rail structure, and insert a new rail. Let's just call it structure, just so we remember what it is. I'm going to leave it at 0, and I'm going to change the profile to this new steel C-section, and just make it the same color. So I can actually just select this, copy, and paste the same material in there, and if I apply that, it pops into place like that on the stairs. But you can see it's mirrored the wrong direction because of the way we have the railing aligned. So in order to change that, go back into the family, if I can find it. We can just select the element, use the mirror, just mirror it around this line here, load it back into the project, overwrite, and then it's set up as a kind of a structure for the stairs like that. Am I going way too fast? Okay, sorry. Okay, so I'm just going to take it a little bit further. So let's just do a wall calculation using Revit, just to give you an example. So I'm going to make a new schedule. So this is one of the first semester houses from last semester. So I'm going to come here to schedules and quantities and right click and say new schedule. And I'm just going to come down and go to walls. So it's going to be a wall schedule. There's OK. And now we get a chance to add the information that we want to show in the schedule. So I'm going to add the area of the walls, because you calculate it by per square meter, you know, in terms of brickwork or whatever. What else do we want to put in there? Put in the cost. And we want to put in we don't need the fire rating at the moment. We can put in the type. And we'll just use those three for the moment. If I just press OK, here's a list of all the walls in the project. The cost I've put in here, I just typed in for another demonstration. But it usually, if you do it, it'll come in with nothing to start with. So then we can just kind of organize it by coming over to sorting and grouping. And I'm going to organize it by type of wall and give it a header and a footer, just to make things clear on the screen. So there we have, you know, all these different types of walls and how many of each one there are. I can come in here, and after looking at the V&S price book and understanding what the price is per square meter, I can come in here and just type it in. And I only need to type it in once because it's a type parameter. It'll be updated on all the different types of parameters. It doesn't matter where I type it in. So let's say this is 1700 for some reason.
How did you divide it like that, Sven?
Yeah, that was under sorting and grouping. So these 5 buttons over here on the right control all the stuff to do with the schedules. So they all open the same panel here. They just have different tabs. So you can always go through the tabs here as well. So I just sorted it by type. So once you sort it by type and add a header and a footer, it'll divide it into those kind of paragraphs there like that. Yeah.
In the middle column there, you have some costs.
Yeah.
And to the left, it says the square meters. So is that then the total?
No, that's what I'm getting to now. Now this cost doesn't mean anything yet, because it could be cost per pieces, could be cost per square meter, it could be cost per anything. So we need to actually make a calculation as to what it is. So that's where the calculated values come in. So I'm going to go back into fields here. I'm going to add another layer to it. And instead of adding a parameter, I'm going to add a calculated value. And the calculated value is going to be, I'm just going to call it total cost. And I'm going to make it a currency, because it's money. And the formula down here, we can either type it in or we can select the existing parameters in the project. So I've got area, and then I'm just going to use star, which means multiplied by cost. So we put in a cost per square meter in this case here. So that seems like it'll work, but if I press OK here, it's going to give us an error. It's going to say inconsistent units, and that's because we're asking it to multiply square meters with krona, which it doesn't understand. So to get away with that, we just put in a divide by 1, and this always gets rid of that problem. So if you divide it by 1, it doesn't change the figure, it just removes the unit requirements. Okay. So if I press OK now, it's calculated the total cost, 41 square meters by 1200, which gives us 49,000 krona, etc., etc. So it's given us a total across each individual element. Now I want to get it to calculate the total of everything. So there's two things here. I go to formatting. Am I going too fast?
No,
It's all
I don't have any numbers under the cost. So
yeah, you need to type in the numbers. I just typed them in.
just like
Yeah, this is where you go to the price book and figure out how much is this wall going to cost. Revit won't do that for you, so you have to go in. But if you just need to type it in. Let's say I change this one to 1300, for example, on the screen here. It updates all of that wall type to 1300 globally. Okay. Now we can change the formatting over here. So I'm going to go into the total cost parameter that I've just set up, and I'm going to ask it to calculate the totals of that as well. Press OK. So now it's calculated all of this type of wall as 96,000 krona, all the way down through it. And I can go one step further, and I can ask it to calculate grand totals here. And now we have a calculation for the entire cost of all the walls in the...
With formatting or?
I did that in, yeah, they have it all over the place. It's not an easy system, you know, they could make it easier to understand, but it's under, the grand totals is under sorting and grouping, whereas the individual totals are under formatting. So you can format each individual. And also under formatting, I could come in here and I could change the format of the field. So I can give it a, you know, at the moment it's set to square meters, you could change it to whatever. Or if it's a cost, I can change it to, you know, krona or whatever. It should be DKK, but it's KR for some reason. I don't know. So that's kind of how you calculate in Revit. It's pretty simple. All you need to do is figure out, you know, is it a cost per square meter? Is it a cost per square cubic meter? Is it a cost per piece, you know, per actual element? How much does this include? Does it include, you know, materials, cost of labor, all the taxes and so forth and all that kind of stuff? And then you just get a figure, put it in there, and then Revit will calculate it out. But the nice thing is, if I then change the design, it all follows along based on what we're doing. Yeah.
In the formula there, you put cost divide by 1, but if you want to put cost area divide by 1 multiplied by cost, will that work as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because divide by 1 over cost divided by 1 is to get the remove the unit of the cost, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to add VAT in here. So I'm going to add a calculated value. So I'm going to call this VAT or MOMPS. I don't know how you spell MOMPS. And this is a at the moment it's a number type. So this is where you change it to the type of unit you're making. So this is also a currency. Well, actually, the VAT itself will be a number. So then we can put in here VAT. So we can say total cost multiply by 1.25. Actually, in that case, I am calculating it out completely. Let's go with cost plus VAT. It'll be the total cost multiplied by 1.25 because 25% is the MOMS. Press OK. If I press OK, it works all right because it's only a number being multiplied by it, so it's fine. Then I press OK again. So now it's added VAT to everything. Then I can go back in to sorting and grouping. It's got grand totals and formatting. I want to say cost plus VAT. I wanted to calculate the totals of that. And then we have cost plus VAT down here. You can see that this one doesn't have KR. It doesn't have krona attached to it. So again, we go back into formatting, select the individual element and change the field format to currency. And unit symbol to krona, and then it just does it like that.
But does it have like other currencies like euros and US dollars?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it has some setup now. I've never looked into how to actually set up different ones. But if we go into the field format again, go into unit symbol, it's got euros, it's got pounds, it's got Hong Kong dollars, it's got yen. Yeah, basic ones. Yeah.
Can you make like other?
That's something I've never looked into. I don't know. I'm sure you probably can. Yeah.
Can you maybe just add like custom text and then like USD or US dollars?
No, it doesn't let you type anything in afterwards. It's all interlinked. So maybe you can. Wait a second. Yeah, you could just type it at the top here, I suppose, in dollars. You know, it's not that important. You know.
And then you just leave it without the unit and the numbers.
The thing is, all this stuff is exportable. So I can go in now and export this as an Excel file.
How?
Just by going into, as long as it's the one that's open on the screen here, I can come in and say export, then just roll down until I get to the Excel file. Schedule, export schedule, and then just, you know, put it on the desktop. It saves it as a tab delimited file.
And then you can add or change.
Then you can just change it around afterwards. You know, it just turns up as a there it is there. If I open up Excel, where's Excel? Open computer, desktop. So it always exports it as a text file. So we just go down here and find text. There it is. And then it's asking how do you want to organize it. I think it pretty much just sets it up correctly. So you just press next and then finish. And there it is there. So it doesn't keep all the calculation values with it. So it just exports the figures, yeah. But then you can come back in and add calculation values to it and stuff afterwards.
So the formulas are not in there.
Formulas aren't in there, no.
But when you do when you do it in Revit, right?
Yeah.
You insert a value for like a price or a wall or anything.